Hey everybody, and welcome to TREM3782 audio storytelling for the fall semester of 2020 at Brooklyn College. I'm John Janone. I'll be your instructor for this course. We're going to meet synchronously 2:15 to 6:45 on Thursdays, and that's going to be in the form of YouTube instant premieres, just like you're watching now. If that format's going to change, I'll let you know. We have a Discord server. I'm going to send you the invitation for that, and that's where we do office hours and chatting during the synchronous meetings. I also have some set-aside office hours from 2 to 3:30 on Wednesdays and right after this class on Thursdays. But really, I'm free to meet you anytime, and I really look forward to interacting with each one of you personally and getting to know you. I think this course is great in an online format, but it is a little difficult in the sense that we don't all get to be in the same space together. So it's going to require a little bit extra effort for us to really get to know each other. And I really do want to get to know you so that I can be successful in helping you get the most out of this course. There's a couple things I had emailed you and asked you to do before the first class meeting, and I do hope you've had a chance to do those. If not, why don't you stop this video and take care of them, because we are going to be using Audacity in the class today, and I do want you to be on the Discord server during our synchronous meetings. So first thing you need to do is make a test audio recording with your smartphone, or if you have an audio recorder, that's great, and I want you to use that. And make sure you know how to transfer that audio file to your computer. It may involve plugging in a USB cable, or maybe airdropping it to yourself, or maybe you're going to need to email it to yourself or upload it to Dropbox. Who knows? You got to figure out a method of getting those audio files from your smartphone to your computer, or from your recorder to your computer. Then the first software we're going to use this semester, and we're going to use a number of different pieces of software, is called Audacity. And it's a wonderful audio editing and processing piece of software. It's completely free, and you're going to need to download and install that on your computer. So you go to the website audacityteam.org, and on the download menu, choose your platform. It's available for Windows, Macs, and Linux. It is not available for iOS, so if you only have an iPad, this is not going to work. It's also not available for Chrome, so if you have a Chromebook, that's not going to work. You definitely are going to need a Mac or a Windows computer or a Linux computer for this course. So run Audacity and open the sound file you recorded. Make sure you can play it back and verify that you can hear the sound file playing back, and get in contact with me if you have any problems. So here's what that's going to look like. This is the Audacity software. Here's an audio file that's been opened into Audacity, and just clicking anywhere on the timeline.
Hello, this is Niamh Conti, and I'm speaking to you from another dimension.
So the sound file should play back. And we're going to actually work with this sound file later during the tutorial portion of the class today, so you can learn how to clean up the audio and make it presentable, because the quality of the sound you're recording on your smartphones is going to be good, but it's not going to be great. But there's things that we can do day one to make that sound quality much improved. And then you're also going to need headphones for this class, no question. You're just not going to be able to do the work without a good quality pair of headphones. And they should either be high quality music listening headphones, like a Grado type headphone, or audio file headphones, like a Sony type of headphone. And if you're serious about sound, this is tech that you should have. If you need some advice, if you don't have the right headphones, you need some advice about what to get, reach out to me. And then make sure you download and install Discord to your computer and your phone. On Discord, you're going to create a username if you don't already have one. When you do create a username, make sure that you use at least your real first name in that username. If you already have a username, if you're already a Discord user and it's not your real name, just when you join the server, make sure you set your display name to your real name. And then please add me as a friend on Discord. So before we get into the rest of the syllabus, which is going to take quite a while, I really want to move through some sections of the syllabus in detail. I'd like to begin the class with some audio storytelling. So I found a wonderful story. There's a gallery in London, Whitechapel Gallery, that puts out collections of writings on contemporary art. And there's one of their volumes is about the relationship between science fiction and contemporary art. And I was reading this yesterday, and I came across a beautiful piece by the artists Alora and Calzadilla in collaboration with science fiction author Ted Chiang. So Alora and Calzadilla created a video installation called The Great Silence in 2014 that centers on the world's largest radio telescope located in Puerto Rico, home of the last remaining population of a critically endangered species of parrots. So for the work, the artist collaborated with science fiction author Ted Chiang, who wrote a script of a fable that ponders the irreducible gap between living, non-living, human, animal, technological, and cosmic actors. And this is an excerpt from that I'd like to read as an opening to the class, because it is a story that tells the story of storytelling. And I think that is a really beautiful starting place for this course. So here it is. It's about 10 minutes long. The humans use the Arecibo Observatory to look for extraterrestrial intelligence. Their desire to make a connection is so strong that they've created an ear capable of hearing across the universe. But I and my fellow parrots are right here. Why aren't they interested in listening to our voices? We're a non-human species capable of communicating with them. Aren't we exactly what humans are looking for? The universe is so vast that intelligent life must surely have arisen many times. The universe is also so old that even one technological species would have had time to expand and fill the galaxy. Yet there is no sign of life anywhere except on Earth. Humans call this the Fermi paradox. One proposed solution to the Fermi paradox is that intelligent species actively try to conceal their presence, to avoid being targeted by hostile invaders. Speaking as a member of a species that has been driven nearly to extinction by humans, I can attest that this is a wise strategy. It makes sense to remain quiet and avoid attracting attention. The Fermi paradox is sometimes known as the Great Silence. The universe ought to be a cacophony of voices, but instead, it's disconcertingly quiet. Some humans theorize that intelligent species go extinct before they can expand into outer space. If they're correct, then the hush of the night sky is the silence of a graveyard. Hundreds of years ago, my kind was so plentiful that the Rio Abajo forest resounded with our voices. Now we're almost gone. Soon this rainforest may be as silent as the rest of the universe. There was an African gray parrot named Alex. He was famous for his cognitive abilities, famous among humans, that is. A human researcher named Irene Pepperberg spent 30 years studying Alex. She found that not only did Alex know the words for shapes and colors, he actually understood the concepts of shape and color. Many scientists were skeptical that a bird could grasp abstract concepts. Humans like to think they're unique. But eventually Pepperberg convinced them that Alex wasn't just repeating words, that he understood what he was saying. Out of all my cousins, Alex was the only one who came closest to being taken seriously as a communication partner by humans. Alex died suddenly when he was still relatively young. The evening before he died, Alex said to Pepperberg, "You be good. I love you." If humans are looking for a connection with a non-human intelligence, what more can they ask for than that? Every parrot has a unique call that it uses to identify itself. Biologists refer to this as the parrot's contact call. In 1974, astronomers used Arecibo to broadcast a message into outer space, intended to demonstrate human intelligence. That was humanity's contact call. In the wild, parrots address each other by name. One bird imitates another's contact call to get the other bird's attention. If humans ever detect the Arecibo message being sent back to Earth, they will know someone is trying to get their attention. Parrots are vocal learners. We can learn to make new sounds after we've heard them. It's an ability that few animals possess. A dog may understand dozens of commands, but it will never do anything but bark. Humans are vocal learners too. We have that in common. So humans and parrots share a special relationship with sound. We don't simply cry out. We pronounce. We enunciate. Perhaps that's why humans built Arecibo the way they did. A receiver doesn't have to be a transmitter, but Arecibo is both. It's an ear for listening and a mouth for speaking. Humans have lived alongside parrots for thousands of years, and only recently have they considered the possibility that we might be intelligent. I suppose I can't blame them. We parrots used to think humans weren't very bright. It's hard to make sense of behavior that's so different from your own. But parrots are more similar to humans than any extraterrestrial species will be, and humans can observe us up close. They can look us in the eye. How do they expect to recognize an alien intelligence if all they can do is eavesdrop from 100 light years away? It's no coincidence that aspiration means both hope and the act of breathing. When we speak, we use the breath in our lungs to give our thoughts a physical form. The sounds we make are simultaneously our intentions and our life force. I speak, therefore I am. Vocal learners like parrots and humans are perhaps the only ones who fully comprehend the truth of this. There's a pleasure that comes from shaping sounds with your mouth. It's so primal and visceral that throughout their history, humans have considered the activity a pathway to the divine. Pythagorean mystics believed that vowels represented the music of the spheres and chanted to draw power from them. Pentecostal Christians believe that when they speak in tongues, they're speaking the language used by angels in heaven. Brahmin Hindus believe that by reciting mantras, they're strengthening the building blocks of reality. Only a species of vocal learners would ascribe such importance to sound in their mythologies. We parrots can appreciate that. According to Hindu mythology, the universe was created with a sound, Om. It's a syllable that contains within it everything that ever was and everything that will be. When the Arecibo telescope is pointed at the space between stars, it hears a faint hum. Astronomers call that the cosmic microwave background. It's the residual radiation of the Big Bang, the explosion that created the universe 14 billion years ago. But you can also think of it as a barely audible reverberation of that original Om. That syllable was so resonant that the night sky will keep vibrating for as long as the universe exists. When Arecibo is not listening to anything else, it hears the voice of creation. We Puerto Rican parrots have our own myths, They're simpler than human mythology, but I think humans would take pleasure from them. Alas, our myths are being lost as my species dies out. I doubt the humans will have deciphered our language before we're gone. So, the extinction of my species doesn't just mean the loss of a group of birds. It's also the disappearance of our language, our rituals, our traditions. It's the silencing of our voice. Human activity has brought my kind to the brink of extinction, but I don't blame them for it. They didn't do it maliciously. They just weren't paying attention. And humans create such beautiful myths. What imaginations they have. Perhaps that's why their aspirations are so immense. Look at Arecibo. Any species who can build such a thing must have greatness within it. My species probably won't be here for much longer. It's likely that we'll die before our time and join the great silence. But before we go, we are sending a message to humanity. We just hope the telescope at Arecibo will enable them to hear it. The message is this: you be good. I love you. So before we get to talking about this course in specific, there's a few sort of general topics that we should address. And one is what's happening with the department itself. The department has updated its name and mission. So it's now the Department of Television, Radio, and Emerging Media. And the department has committed itself to teaching the concepts, techniques, and technologies rapidly emerging in the 21st century media field. This change will manifest in many classes, including this class, and may not yet be reflected in course catalog descriptions. So some of the changes that are happening right now, and they're happening so rapidly, are just mind-boggling. We have artificial intelligence and computer learning becoming extremely influential in the media field. And we have virtual reality and augmented reality. We have incredible visual effects from our science fiction to our natural disasters, to our car crashes, to our jet planes, the rooms that our characters are in, and even the characters themselves are being generated or simulated on the computer. Here's just a couple of examples I grabbed because I thought they were reflective of the scale of the change that's happening right now. So this is an example of deepfake technology where computer learning and artificial intelligence are used to examine the visual characteristics of one actor and map them onto another actor. So in Solo, a Star Wars story, Alden Ehrenreich plays Han Solo, and the original Han Solo in the original Star Wars films was played by Harrison Ford. And because this is in Solo, a Star Wars story, is supposed to be a young Han Solo, the deep learning algorithms were given the early Star Wars films to analyze, and the computer learned about young Harrison Ford's face, and then analyzed Alden Ehrenreich's performance in Solo, a Star Wars story, and mapped the information together. This is a completely new way of thinking about working with media, and has huge implications for the future. But it's not ready for prime time yet. First of all, it's imperfect in its application. and it's extremely computationally intensive. Computers are going to have to become more powerful, and the artificial intelligence is going to have to become more refined. But eventually, there will be very large implications, probably some legal and political implications of this, but also some really interesting artistic implications. So whether or not you think this is a good thing or a bad thing, or whether it's going to, be harmful to actors or beneficial to actors, or is going to have creative potential or not have creative potential, it's coming. Artificial intelligence is coming to our field, and it's going to influence the kind of jobs that are out there, the way in which productions are made, and it's going to be a significant transformation of the field. Now, I'm not saying we're going to study artificial intelligence in this course in particular. I'm talking more broadly about what we mean when we talk about emerging media, and how do you prepare students? How do we as faculty prepare you to be working in a world where the media is changing so rapidly, and where it's computers and technology that are doing this changing? How do you become the kind of producers who can walk into an environment where there's going to be new technology on the table for each production you work on? Another thing that's emerging and is about to become extremely important is virtual actors. Right now we have virtual sets, we have total virtual environments, and CGI has progressed to an absolutely astounding level. But the thing that's happening that's quite new is the emergence of performers like Michaela, because Michaela is a completely virtual entity, and she's the first virtual performer to receive a contract with an agent. And this is a really significant moment because she doesn't exist. But at the same time, she appears alongside human performers in music videos. She has a YouTube channel, quite a popular YouTube channel, and she's entering into the space previously only occupied by real humans. Now, of course, on one hand, this isn't all that different from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, mixing animation and live action. But the fact that she is nearly across the uncanny valley, that she's almost convincingly human, makes her quite distinct, in the sense that the border is breaking down even more than CGI broke it down between the virtual and the real. And this is going to be an important topic, an important issue in the field very soon. So one of the basic requirements of this course and all production courses in television, radio, and emerging media is computer and internet literacy. Even before the department name and mission change, television radio was the most computer-intensive department in the arts at Brooklyn College. If you think about it, all production work, video editing, sound design, radio editing, color correction, visual effects, motion graphics, even screenwriting, uses specialized software and requires computer literacy. Now that the department is television, radio, and emerging media, the computational skills required to be successful in the major have increased. So computer literacy is required for this and all television, radio, and emerging media production courses, including but not limited to knowing how to install software on your computer, managing files and folders so that you know where all your files are and they're organized in a comprehensible way, compression and decompression of files and folders so that you can create a zip archive of files, file transfer and cloud services so you can move those files around and share them with other people, effective use of search engines, almost any question of a general nature that you would like answered about using technology, you can find through some simple internet searches, and I give you some examples of that below. Taking screenshots and making screen recordings, again, you should know how to do this on your computer, on your platform. And if you don't know, it's something you can use search engines to look up. And then using online tools such as Blackboard, which will be central to this course, Discord, also central to this course, YouTube, where most of the course materials will be posted, Vimeo, SoundCloud, etc. So it's important to note that this course does not teach these basic skills. It requires them as a starting place. So if you do not feel confident in basic computing, this may not be an appropriate course for you, and you may wish to schedule a meeting with an advisor to see if a computationally intensive major, such as television, radio, and emerging media, is right for you. If you have basic competency in these areas but want to improve your skills or fill gaps in your knowledge while taking the course, you may do so. The information is easily available on the internet. These internet searches will produce useful results. If you don't know how to manage files and folders, you can Google file and folder management in Windows 10 if Windows 10 is what you're using. Or if you're on a Mac and you don't know how to make a zip archive, you can Google, how do I make a zip archive Mac? Or if you don't know how to join a Discord server, Google, how do I join a Discord server? And I've tried all these searches and they produce extremely useful results. So that sort of thing is really a basic starting point for the class. And as I say, if you don't have that fully, you can probably, this course could help you get to that level of computer literacy. But if you don't have it at all, you really do need to question whether, such a technologically intensive major as television, radio, and emerging media is how you want to be spending your time. And I will, just as a sidebar to that, I've had students say to me, well, the reason I'm interested in television, radio, and emerging media is because I want to be an on-screen personality, want to be a newscaster or a talk show host. And I say, this is not that major. We do not have a single faculty member that teaches courses in that area or that has that kind of expertise. The theater department does, and theater would be an excellent choice for that. If you want to be an on-screen person, I would strongly recommend you to consider a theater major, because even the one course that we do offer, acting for the camera, that has some relevance to that area of interest, is cross-listed with the theater department and is taught by a member of the theater faculty. That really is the department that has the faculty and offers the courses that will be most beneficial to you. So this course is going to be conducted in a fully online format with no in-person meetings. Blackboard and YouTube are the primary platforms for course delivery, and we'll use Discord for chat. We may use other online platforms as well. Email is going to be your primary means of communication with me, and you should expect to email with me once or twice per week on average, and there will certainly be weeks where we'll be even more regular email communication. And this is one of the things I like the most about the online and hybrid teaching format, is how much we will communicate in the written form, because I believe that at a fundamental level, all university classes are classes in writing. Every course should be in some way writing intensive. And one of the ways in which this course is in the regularity and density of our written communication with each other. But we can talk also, because office hours will be held on the Discord voice chat. And in addition to the times listed that are set up as quote-unquote office hours, feel free to set up an office hours call for any mutually agreeable time. I want to make sure that I'm very available to you. The course has synchronous and asynchronous components. And the synchronous components are not going to be, as I mentioned before, two-way communication synchronous components like Zoom. They're going to be like this: YouTube Instant Premiere videos, video tutorials with real-time assistance. So you could be doing a tutorial but know that I am available on Discord to be helping you if you have a question or get stuck with something. Also, homework with real-time assistance. So during the synchronous class time, you may be doing homework, but I will be available to you via Blackboard chat or via Discord. Blackboard chat is actually not that great a chat format. And then you'd submit that work via Blackboard. And also, we're going to have quizzes, which will be delivered also in the Instant Premiere format collected on Blackboard. And also, we may do synchronous readings, meaning I will give a reading assignment and give you a certain amount of time to do the reading. Or I may record the reading as audio, and then we'll have some sort of activity immediately after the reading that's based on you having just completed it. And also, when we watch and listen to things, that will be part of the synchronous component of the course. But there's also asynchronous components, and these are the assignments that will have a deadline. These will typically be submitted on Blackboard. So they're going to be tutorials, technical tutorials, that you will do on your own time at your own pace, and then submit those on Blackboard. And those will be on the YouTube channel. There'll certainly be homework that you can do at your own pace and submit on Blackboard. There's going to be a discussion forum, and you're going to participate in that. This is another part of the writing part of the course. You're going to post weekly to the discussion forum, and you're going to reply weekly to 2 of your fellow students' posts. And this is a really important part of the course, because one of the things that is missing from online and hybrid courses that is a super essential part of why we go to university is the connections you make with other students. And it gets much harder in an online format to build those connections. You want to walk away from a university course not only with the experience of having done the course and the knowledge you've gained through the course, you want to walk away with some connections to other people, people whose work inspires you, people whose work ethic is impressive to you, people you seem like you can get along with and potentially work on something together in the future. This is where opportunities come from. This is where a lot of jobs, probably most jobs, come from, is someone you know. And university study is a great time to get to know people, and not just get to know them, but get to know how they think and how they work. So this is one of the many reasons that we have an active discussion forum on Blackboard. And of course, there are going to be the course projects. So the course projects will be completed on your own time and submitted on Blackboard. And then also, part of the coursework is exploring and getting inspired. You have to go out there and watch things. You have to go out there and listen to things. Engaging with the course material also means engaging with the world of creative producers who are doing this kind of work. And, I'm going to guide you to a lot of that stuff, but also it is part of your work to be looking, be exploring, be finding artists who you think are doing important things and who are inspirational to you. And also finding artists who are new to you and a surprise to you, and kind of are approaching things in a different way or a way you never thought of. So that's going to be a component of this class as well. So what is this class? What is audio storytelling? Well, I think that's actually the primary question. What does audio storytelling mean today in our age of rapidly emerging and transforming media and in the shadow of a global pandemic? Audio storytelling describes a huge range of human activities, from audiobooks to opera, from hip-hop to radio drama, from a political speech to a sermon. We tell many, many kinds of stories with sound. And it is not only the sound of human voices that can tell stories. Instruments, objects, environments, and synthesized sounds are audio storytelling tools as well. In a sense, audio storytelling encompasses all of the sonic arts. So this semester, we're going to explore audio storytelling as broadly as possible. Every week, we will be making and editing recordings, finding and creating sounds, and thinking about different methods of editing, transforming, and combining sounds to tell stories. We'll listen to the work of a wide range of contemporary and historical audio storytellers, from Robert Ashley to Milo, from William S. Burroughs to Sun Ra. In this course, we'll not listen to like or dislike, to agree or disagree, or even to respect or disrespect. Not that these are uninteresting ways to listen. That's just not the work of this semester. This semester, we will listen to discover the possible nature of the audio artist's experiment, to glimpse or surmise their motivation or intent, and to imagine different ways of hearing the world, making sounds in the world, and ultimately thinking about the world. This semester is an opening of the ears, a journey into sound and sounding, an exercise in, as the wonderful composer Pauline Oliveros called it, deep listening. From this listening, we will be moved or challenged to make things, to put sound out into the world. To that end, there will be weekly small projects, some which we'll complete during our synchronous meetings or some within a week. And there'll be several larger projects. Almost every week you will record, transcribe, write, or edit something. And work you make one week will become source material for a project in another week. The larger projects will allow you to work in a longer form and explore a single idea in more depth. You'll end the semester with a significant library of recordings and experiments, and at least one substantial project that's suitable for inclusion in an audio reel or other creative portfolio. So for the rest of this section of the class, I want to start playing some of those things. I want to start our process of listening. So I've put together a couple of examples of audio storytelling that are not meant to give you the whole picture. They're a tiny little slice. They're what I thought would be an interesting starting place. So they're not what the semester is about. They're not where we're headed this semester. They're just a first step in this exploration that we're doing together this semester. Also, just be aware that a couple of the things I picked have some violent imagery and strong language in them. So just be ready for that.
Around the earth circles the eternity of the damned air, the damned inheritance of the earth, of the same vibrations it ever was. We need new air. We need the air that vibrates with the sound of another kind of mind. We need the beam of the future to strike the earth, like the lightning and the power of a thunderbolt, in order that the dying embers of the past should suddenly be extinct. There is no place for the past in the realm of the future, except temporarily as an exhibit of that which is taboo, because the past is the past, and the future is the future. The eternity of the limited past was for those who were taught the limited darkness. The unlimited reach of the future is another kind of forever. There is an inner darkness, and there is an outer darkness. Those who become subjects of the inner darkness dwell therein. Those who become subjects of the outer darkness shall dwell thereout. Out is the way of the outer, and in the way of the inner. The end of the inner end is different from the end of the outer end, because the outer end is the outer on. Yes, out is the outer, and in is the inner. The way out is the way to living, breathing life. Let's blast the damned air and claim the right to be a part of the outer heavens and outer space, that we might live and breathe and be eternally alive forever. Let's blast the damned air, the imprisoning circle that bands the earth with the echoes of the dead truth of the damned word. Let the light shine upon the darkness that enchains the meaning of the knowledge that has been used as the law to destroy.
The entrance of the punk boys. Among 100 brothers him I greet, who ate my heart, and I his heart did eat. According to the first of the punk boys, the body is still in a process of being forged, especially his body. His name was Antonin Artaud, which was thin, nasty, sick, mangled, distorted, ravaged by drugs and by desires which had been repressed by thoughts. The body, Artaud further said, has an infinite capacity for self-transformation. Artaud actually talked in a far more disgusting manner, just like the rest of his brethren, the filthy, dirty boys. All of the punk boys had fucked their mothers and were no longer colonized. They didn't care. Now, the growth of private property, one characteristic of the bourgeois industrial world, had died. Private property, in the form of multinational and ex-national capital, returned to the hands of the few. Economic, therefore political power, seemed centralized. The decrease, finally the disappearance of private property, was directly related to a movement away from, then to the disappearance of the memory of patriarchy. The punks, in other words, were one beginning of a new world. Though these punks were at the edges of a beginning of a new world, they had no idea how to relate to each other. For them, language wasn't a problem. Though he was the proto-punk boy, Artaud was the one whom the punk boys disavowed. He was continually fighting off drugs and so wanted to destroy everything. Like him, all of the punk boys wanted to destroy. They disavowed history, but they were the direct descendants of Heliogabalus of Alexandria, who had been made emperor at 14 years of age. Heliogabalus despised his government and was anarchistic. His reign was replete with murder, incest, and the lack of values. The Alexandrian police cut apart Heliogabalus when he was 18 years old in the toilets of his own palace, and then threw his corpse outside on the dirt where 2 dogs happened to be pissing. To be kissed by a punk boy was to be drawn into insanity or toward death, the last of the race of white men. And to fuck one of them, said a girl who was doing just that, is to be drawn into murder. Perhaps this was what happened to the prostitutes. They didn't commence their violent actions because they had started masturbating, as O had thought. They began because the punk boys came to town, and the whores got touched by these boys. The punks taught the whores. We're not free, because at any moment the sky could explode into shreds of flesh. Europe is far away, farther because the civilized West has disappeared, already shreds of flesh without any explosion. The punks further said, terror is the answer for our times, because we, whores and punks, cannot liberate ourselves by running away from horror, a horror that is nameless. But, O replied, I've already lived through horror. I won't know where prostitution came from until I can get rid of it. My mother's inside me. She wants me to suicide because she suicided. I could try to find a father so there would be no more mother, but there are no fathers around. All of the whores agreed with O. It was the end of the white world.
Church car, 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 church 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 car church car car church car church car church car church car church 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 car church car church car church car church car church car church 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 car church car bang church car bang church car bang 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 church car bang church car bang 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 church car bang 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 church car 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 boxcar bump car boxcar bump car boxcar auto car boxcar bump car boxcar bump car boxcar auto car boxcar bump car boxcar bump car boxcar auto car boxcar bump car auto car boxcar bump car auto car boxcar bump car auto car box bump auto car box bump auto car box bump auto car box auto car bump car box auto car bump car box auto car bump car bang auto car box car bang auto car box car bang auto car box car kumquat low quat auto car bump car kumquat low quat auto car bump car kumquat low quat auto car bump car kumquat low quat church car box car kumquat low quat church car box car kumquat low quat church car box car cum low kumquat 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 low quat cum low kumquat cum low quat cum low quat low quat cum low kumquat cum low quat cum low quat low quat cum low kumquat cum low quat cum low kumquat church car box car auto car bump car rubber baby buggy bumper church car box car auto car bump car rubber baby buggy bumper church car box car auto car bump car rubber baby buggy bumper car bump box baby automobile car bump box baby automobile car bump box baby automobile bang baby rubber car Ribicoff bang baby rubber car Ribicoff bang baby rubber car Ribicoff bang baby Ribicoff rubber car automobile 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 bang baby bang bang 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 automobile.
This gentleman is a death dwarf, as you can see, manipulated by remote control. Compliments of Mr. and Mrs. D. Give me a shot, says the dwarf, and I'll tell you something interesting. Hydraulic metal hands proffer a tray of phosphorescent meal, yellow-brown in color like pulverized amber. The dwarf takes out a hypo from a silver case and shoots a pinch of the meal in the main line. Images. Millions of images. That's what I eat. Cyclotron shit. You ever try kicking that habit with apomorphine? Now I got all the images of sex acts and torture ever took place anywhere. And I can just blast it out and control you gooks right down to the molecule. I got orgasms. I got screams. I got all the images any hit poet ever shit out. My power's coming, my power's coming, my power's coming. He goes into a faith healer routine, rolling his eyes and frothing at the mouth. And I got millions and millions and millions of images of me. He nods out. He snaps back into focus, screaming and spitting at Uranian Willie. You hick, you rat, called the fuzz on me. All right. I'm finished, but you're still a lousy fucking fink. Address your remarks to me, said the DS. All right, you hick sheriffs. I'll cook you all down to decorticated canine preparations. You'll never get the apomorphine formula in time. Never, never, never. Caustic, white-hot saliva drips from his teeth. The smell of phosphorus fills the room. Human dogs. Don't mind if I take another shot, do you? Of course not. After giving information, you will be disintoxicated. Disintoxicated, he says. My God, look at me. Good, sir. To the purpose. Shit. Uranian shit. That's what my human dogs eat, and I like to rub their nose in it. Beauty, poetry, space. What good is all that to me? If I don't get the image fix, I'm in the ovens, you understand? All the pain and hate images come loose. You understand that, you dumb hick? I'm finished, but your eyes still pop out. Naked candy of adolescent image, Panama. Who look out different? Cook you all down to decorticated mandrakes. Don't you think, Mr. D, it is in your interest to facilitate our work with the apomorphine formula? It wouldn't touch me, not with the habit I got. How do you know? Have you tried? Of course not. If I allowed anyone to develop the formula, he would be out, you understand? And it only takes one out to kick over my hypo tray. After all, you don't have much choice, Mr. D. Again, the image snapped back, fading now and flickering like an old film. I still have the boardroom reports. I can split the planet wide open tomorrow. And you little rat, you'll end up on ice in the ovens. Baked Alaska, we call it. Nothing like a baked Alaska fix to hold me vegetable. Always plenty wise guys waiting on the baked Alaska. The dwarf's eyes sputtered blue sparks. A reek of burning flesh billowed through the room.
Ethics is the aesthetics. Ethics is the aesthetics of. Ethics is the aesthetics of the few. The aesthetics of the few. Aesthetics of. Ethics is the aesthetics of the few. Of the few. Of the few.
Sure.
Last summer, I spent a couple of weeks in a Buddhist monastery. No one was allowed to talk, or to read, or to write. It was very quiet there. The first night, I heard an unearthly voice coming from somewhere on the other end of the monastery. Sometimes the voice was a piercing shriek. Other times, a soft crooning. It went on for hours. The same word over and over again. It sounded like, Juanita! 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 couldn't imagine who Juanita might be, or why someone needed her so badly, or why she never answered such an obviously desperate call. Later, I learned that the word wasn't Juanita at all, but anatta, the word for ego, the word for self. And this is a song for Juanita.
Now, one. Now,
Père,
one.
Son,
Now,
Père,
one.
Son,
Now, one. Now, one. Now, one.
no Father,
Now,
no Son,
one.
Père, Son,
No. Juanita. Now.
what do you know?
Juanita.
How do you know?
Now. Juanita.
What do you know?
Now. Juanita. Now.
What do you know?
Juanita.
Juanita, Ana,
Rasta.
nada,
Rasta.
Ana,
Rasta.
Ana,
Rasta.
Ata,
Now.
what do you know?
One. Now. One.
Père,
Now one.
Son,
Now one.
Personne,
Now one.
no Father,
Now one.
no Son,
Now. Juanita.
I really like that piece. So digging back into the syllabus, the next thing I want to discuss is that this is a studio course in the arts within a school of the arts. So that's important to understand, that television, radio, and emerging media is an arts program. Students within the program, while you're certainly studying television and radio and emerging media, you're also makers, you're also creators, and you're not just creators of commercial content or professional content, you're creators of personal content. You're creators out of your own personal vision. And part of what you're doing here in this program is developing that personal vision. So the primary goal here is the development of your creative and expressive voice. There will be tools and techniques to learn, and these will be taught through the online tutorials, but they are not in themselves the focus of the course. The focus of the course is the personal, artistic, creative work you do with these tools. As such, be sure to share time between learning the tools and creating with the tools. Of course, with tools you're just beginning to learn, you may not be able to create anything very complex. But still, keep your focus on creating, making something that interests you. And that may be a two-part challenge. You may need to keep the focus on what interests you, and also, if this is not an area that you're automatically or natively interested in, you might need to figure out how to cultivate that interest in yourself so that you can see this as a creative, expressive enterprise. And one word to the journalists. Journalists, you are studying journalism not in a school of journalism. You're studying journalism in a school of the arts. So while, of course, the tools and techniques of your craft are important, you too are functioning within an arts context, and your creative voice and your creative expression is important. Even if that's not your professional focus, that's the focus of this program, to make you creative producers as well as professional producers. So it's essential that you learn effectively from the tutorials, and I have a section on tutorials coming up so that you can quickly move on from the tutorials and begin using your new skills in creative, personal, and even idiosyncratic ways. So if the tutorials are bogging you down, then that's something you want to talk with me about so you can learn from the tutorials more quickly and more effectively, because the tutorials are not the goal. And learning the tools isn't the goal. Using the tools is the goal. So, why is it more important to use the tools creatively than to simply learn the techniques? That's a valid question. There are many reasons, and you can see the section below on the liberal arts idea, and we'll talk about that as well. But I want to highlight one reason here why it's important to use the tools creatively. As you move into the professional world, regardless of what field you end up going into, there will almost certainly be more technically accomplished applicants than you. Being the most technically accomplished candidate is an extremely difficult hill to climb in any field, requiring hundreds of hours of laser-sharp focus on a specific tool or technique. The time you have in a single course in a single semester is not nearly enough time to develop technical skill of this level. It is, however, an ideal amount of time to make a creative exploration. And each time you give yourself time and space to engage in a creative exploration, you'll develop your personal vision, style, and aesthetic. The goal of this sort of development is not to have the best or most impressive vision. It is simply to have a distinct one. When you have a reel of creative work that expresses an artistic viewpoint that is clear and individual, you create an opportunity for another person, a producer, a director, project manager, etc., to see something in your vision and to want to speak with you further. This is the advantage that keeping a creative focus gives you. You have a way of distinguishing yourself among a pool of applicants without needing to rise to the top in a competitive struggle. And you will know that you've attracted the attention of an employer or gatekeeper who feels something special about what you in particular have to offer. And I can't emphasize this enough. It's so hard to be the best and the most experienced. You have to have hyper focus. It's like being a classical musician. The hours and hours of daily practice. You need to spend years of disciplined study to become an expert. But to have a distinctive voice and vision, that's something we all can do. That's something we all already have. All we need to do is cultivate it. And then you're not trying to be the best at anything. You're just trying to be a clearer, more articulated version of yourself. And that, seems like a much better goal than to try to claw one's way to the top. Now, of course, one of the great things about university is every course has a different viewpoint, every professor has a different opinion, and this is just my opinion and I'm voicing it, but it's the opinion, I think, that's also behind choosing to study the arts and majoring in an arts program such as this, is that you too believe that developing a creative voice, developing your personal voice, is actually one of the significant goals of university study. But there are the technical tools to learn, and so it's very important to use the online tutorials effectively. And this is not just about this class. This is a much bigger issue, because learning from tutorials is now, and has been for several years, an essential professional skill. With the combination of remote work, online learning, and the proliferation of online tutorials for an incredible variety of tasks and tools, it is likely that you will do the majority of your learning from tutorials as soon as you enter the professional world. Probably all of your learning. Almost all professional training is now done through online tutorials. And I hear from a lot of students, I'm not good at learning from tutorials. This class gives you a great opportunity to change that. So many students do not have experience learning from tutorials. Very few classes teach learning from tutorials as a skill in itself. This class does, and thus is an excellent way to get this essential experience. For some students, simply developing the skill set of learning quickly and effectively from tutorials could be the most important outcome of this class in terms of what's going to be most useful to you professionally. So I'll guide you through strategies for effective learning from tutorials throughout the class, and I'll start now with a few basic tips. And you're going to be able to apply these today because you're going to be learning from a tutorial in the class today. So it is typically not useful to watch a tutorial. I sadly often see students waste many hours watching and rewatching tutorials. Instead, always do a tutorial, actually following, making, building every step along with the instructor. In the case of my tutorials, which are highly packed by design, this is particularly the case. Never just watch one of my tutorials. Always do it as you watch it. Build it as you watch it. Even if it's a review, build it as you watch it. So tutorials are meant to be constantly paused and rewound. In the beginning, when you're working with a packed tutorial like mine, where the materials is presented densely and quickly, you should probably be hitting pause 5 to 10 times per minute and rewinding 3 to 5 times per minute. So sometimes you're not letting more than 5 seconds go by in the tutorial without pausing and doing something, or pausing and rewinding. That is much, much more than you think it is, unless you are quite skilled already at learning from densely packed tutorials. So when budgeting time for a tutorial, multiply the tutorial length by 2 as a starting point. So if it's a 30-minute tutorial, budget an hour. After doing a few, you'll get a better sense of your pace, and the pace will also vary with the difficulty of the tutorials. There might be some 30-minute tutorials that are going to take you an hour and a half or 2 hours. But there's other 30-minute tutorials that you'll blow through in an hour. But you're never going to go real time through a tutorial if you're doing it properly. So when you're making or building what's being demonstrated in a tutorial, make sure it works at every point. This is key. It's not just about making it. It's about making it and knowing that it works. And that at the end of the tutorial, what you have built works exactly as the demonstrated version does, in every detail. And if it doesn't, go back and find the error point, because tutorials are not meant to give you general information. They're meant to give you specific information that then you generalize from once you've mastered that specific information. And remember, the goal of a tutorial is never to build the demonstrated thing. The goal is to learn the tools, techniques, and concepts behind the techniques. You will likely never build that exact demonstrated thing again. Tutorials are typically arbitrary demonstrations to help you learn the tool or technique itself. Now, this next one is really important. Immediately after completing a tutorial, you need to budget time to work with the tools, techniques, and concepts you were just introduced to. If you have homework, start it immediately after finishing a pass through the tutorial. This is the perfect way to cement the ideas in the tutorial. And particularly in the beginning, you'll need to do more than one pass on each tutorial. So on the first pass, you'll learn about the tools and techniques and be exposed to at least one application of them. In a subsequent pass, attempt to generalize your knowledge. Right, you got the specifics from your first pass through the tutorial, but as you do the tutorial again, move from the specific to the general. What are the concepts behind the tools, and what are other possible applications for them? Because again, you're not going to use it quite this way again, but you will use it in lots of situations, so understand as much as you can about it. So this is not all there is to learning effectively from tutorials. These are just some of the initial pointers to get you going in the right direction. It's a skill that will take time and dedication and will absolutely be worth the effort professionally. So let's talk a little bit about your interaction with me during the semester. I am constantly available to you via email, and I encourage you to be in contact with me regularly. On average, we will probably exchange emails twice per week, and I will require at least 1 email per week as part of the class participation grade to ensure good communication and to build your skills in framing questions. I'm also available to you via scheduled Discord voice chats, and I look forward to speaking with every one of you this semester. And in the beginning part of the semester, please set up some time so we can talk. So asking good questions has always been a key to effective learning. And in an online course, formulating good questions is even more essential. In this course, questions about course material are to be asked by email or on Discord. We're going to reserve voice communication for discussion. discussing strategies or approaches to the material, getting artistic feedback or seeking inspiration, or even if you're just feeling frustrated or not sure what direction to take or want some pointers on how to strategize working effectively from the tutorials, that's great stuff. But if you have technical questions, they're going to be in a written form by email or by Discord text chat. One of the reasons for this is to build skill in formulating good questions. Like learning from tutorials, asking good, effective questions is a learnable skill and an essential professional tool. So, this is also going to be an ongoing discussion, but what is a good question? Well, for the purposes of this course, there's 4 parts to a good question. The question clearly articulates the issue, including any necessary context. It gives a concrete example, whenever possible, that illustrates the issue. It details what approaches have already been tried to address the issue and why it seemed they might address the issue. And this one is really important. Don't ask a question until you've tried to answer it yourself. And when you ask the question, be specific about what you tried, how you tried, because often that information is more important than the question itself in helping me understand what information you need. And give a concrete example of at least one approach you've already tried. So, asking a question should never just be an expression of not understanding. Before sending the email, figure out specifically what you do not understand and think about how best to express that clearly and specifically with an example if you can. And then also, before sending the email, evaluate your own attempts to address the issue yourself. What steps have you taken on your own specifically? Include these in your email with an example of what you've tried. The answer to a well-formed question will usually not be simple. It will provide information as well as direction to further explore in order to assure or deepen understanding of the issue. So asking a well-formed question is also inviting more work for you. When you formulate your questions, be sure to set aside time to actually explore the answers. So when doing anything besides the most basic work with computers, you eventually run into math. Why? Because computers are only capable of one thing, math. Every image we see on a computer display, every sound we hear, every printed page is encoded in the computer as numbers. While very simple software sometimes succeeds in hiding this numeric basis of computing, anyone wishing to move beyond the absolute basics of sound or multimedia will need to confront the wholly numeric basis of the computer as a tool. The good news here is you don't have to do any of the math. The computer is vastly better at math than we are, and since math is its only true language, it doesn't balk at even the most complex calculation. But every time you instruct a computer, you're giving instructions about doing math. And once you begin working beyond the most basic level in sound or multimedia, you'll need to know something about the kind of mathematical instructions you're giving. Again, good news. This is often very simple. Usually, it is as easy as knowing when to have the computer add, subtract, multiply, or divide, and if a series of operations is required, knowing which to do first. In other words, you need to be fluent in elementary school math concepts, the same math you use to understand your finances, do home improvement projects, cook and bake, follow sports, plan travel, etc. Also, it's often about knowing the limits of ranges or relationships of numbers. Here's 2 simple examples. The instantaneous amplitude of a digital sound, so the volume of that sound at any given moment in time, is represented in the computer by a number between -1 and 1. So this is an important piece of information. When you're dealing with the volume of a sound, it's got to be represented by a number between -1 and 1. There is no 2. There is no -2. So there's certain math you can't do. For instance, you can't add 3 to the volume of a sound. If you do, you're pushing it out of the legal range. By the same logic, you probably can't multiply it by 100. Unless it's extremely, extremely quiet sound, multiplying it by 100 is going to push it out of that range of -1 to 1. And you'll be using numbers that have no meaning. But, for instance, the average amplitude of a digital sound is represented by a number between 0, silence, and 1, maximum possible volume. So average volume and instantaneous volume have different numeric ranges. This is stuff that you've got to be able to work with and manipulate in this class. This is the kind of math that's required. It's not really math as much as mathematical thinking. Here's another example. Sound is also measured in decibels. So in addition to being measured in this numeric -1 to 1 range, there's also this measurement called decibels. Every increase of 10 decibels results in a perceptual doubling of loudness. If sound goes up by 10 dB, it will sound twice as loud. So amplifying a sound by 20 dB will result in a sound that is perceptually 4 times louder, a doubling of a doubling. Ordinarily, we'd say, if it doubles when it goes up by 10 dB, if it goes up by another 10 dB, that'll be 3 times as loud. But actually, that's 4 times as loud. And if it goes up by 30 dB, that's 8 times as loud. There is no math in this course that should even be remotely difficult. The challenge is only in applying the knowledge you already have and can already use effectively in other contexts in a new and different way. And one note to those of you who have some experience in sound, you may have been taught elsewhere that every 6 dB increase doubles the loudness of a sound. This is also true. Every 6 decibels, the sound pressure level of a sound is doubled. This is mathematical doubling that we would use, for instance, if we were looking at protecting listeners from hearing loss, as opposed to perceptual doubling that we would use when thinking about an audience's experience. It is also true that with every 3 decibel increase, the power of a sound is doubled. This is usually thought of the other way around. You'd say it takes twice as much power to raise the level of a sound by 3 dB. So whatever power you're using now, double it, and that will raise the sound by 3 decibels. And that's useful when thinking about amplifiers and power requirements. This class is not what you expected. If you did not contact me before the semester started, I'm quite confident that this course will not be what you expected. College classes are not objective. There's a personal viewpoint to each course. This is not necessarily the instructor's viewpoint. For instance, in a class with a textbook, the viewpoint is probably that of the textbook's author. In a class on a particular artist or thinker, certainly it is that artist or thinker's viewpoint that drives the class, although certainly the instructor's views on the artist or thinker will also be important. In a studio art class such as this, you have my viewpoint as an artist and professional driving the class. Thus, what you are getting is my current, personal, individual take on the material as a stepping-off point and inspiration for your own creative explorations. Thus, without contacting me before the semester, there's no way you could have known what to expect. This is compounded by the fact that the television, radio, and emerging media department is changing, and this course is one of those at the forefront of the change. The department's new emphasis on emerging media is causing a shift in the emphasis of many courses, and since emerging media is my field of specialty, the change is quite present in my courses in particular. Lynda.com, and what you don't need to pay for anymore. With a Brooklyn Public Library account or a New York Public Library account, incredible free Lynda.com tutorials are available for all major professional tools via the library web portal. Not the Brooklyn College Library web portal, the Brooklyn Public Library or New York Public Library web portal. It has never been easier and totally free to learn Photoshop, Pro Tools, Illustrator, After Effects, Premiere, Audition, etc. There is no longer a reason for you to pay college tuition to learn these tools. This is a good thing, in that it relieves college classes from needing to provide training in packaged software tools, which is neither an effective use of university class time nor student tuition dollars. The fact that these resources are available online at no cost means that college classes, and particularly liberal arts-focused curricula, can spend more time on the liberal arts and creative aspects of their mission. So definitely, if you don't have a library card, get a library card And just know that you have amazing professional instructors and hundreds of hours of tutorials on an incredibly wide range of tools and techniques that can be very useful to you professionally. Time commitment for the course. The general formula for university study is plan 2 hours of non-synchronous work for each credit hour. So since this class is a 3-credit, 5 contact hour course, you should expect to spend 6 hours per week on this class in addition to our synchronous meeting. Some weeks you might spend more, some weeks you might spend less. This is just a quick review of the liberal arts idea. Brooklyn College is a liberal arts institution, and television, radio, and emerging media is a department with a particularly purist approach to the liberal arts mission. In other words, it is distinctly not professional training. The goal of a liberal arts department is to, through a subject matter, train the mind in domains such as critical and analytical thinking, rapid, effective comprehension of novel ideas, developing a clear and convincing writing style, problem solving, creativity and expression, developing intuition, framing ideas in cultural, historical, ethical, epistemological, and theoretical contexts. There's nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong with professional or conservatory training. And these things are available within CUNY and even in certain departments at Brooklyn College. But it's important to recognize, if you have not yet, that you are not in such a program. The mission of this department is not to prepare you for a career in television, radio, or emerging media in the same way that the English department is not preparing you for a career in English, nor the history department for a career in history, etc. In TREM, we are studying television, radio, and emerging media as a means towards training the mind and perhaps the spirit. We, the faculty, are teaching to the liberal arts mission through the field that we work in and know best. This does not mean you can't go on to work in television, radio, or emerging media with a BA in TREM. By all means do. It's a fascinating and rapidly changing field. But the specific preparation offered by a liberal arts approach is intentionally broader. We want you to approach your future field or career, whatever it may be, with a set of mental tools and agility that could have been honed studying anything at all. From this perspective, how you study is vastly more important than what you study. As a case in point, I majored in philosophy and religion as an undergraduate. Not once did I think I would be a professional philosopher or clergyman. I was drawn to philosophy and religion because, after trying several majors, I felt it placed the strongest emphasis on training the mind to understand and manipulate complex ideas, develop clear thinking and writing, and be exposed to the work of innovative thinkers whose ideas changed the world. And I enjoyed it, and I found the professors stimulating. I went on from there to work in television. I took a quick poll of friends who got degrees from liberal arts departments, and while some definitely continued in the field of their major, most did not. And here's a quick table. Majored in business administration, ended up in commercial video production. Majored in music, ended up as a filmmaker and DP. And you can look down the list. The fourth one down, majored in religion, worked for the NYPD, and then became a television producer. That's Amanda, who produced Law and Order Special Victims Unit. And she was a theology, a master's degree in theology, actually. There's some interesting ones in there. Just take a look down that list. And I mention this not because it's a good thing or a bad thing, but simply to point out that a liberal arts education is very consciously and specifically not preparation for a specific career. I believe that it is essential that students be clearly aware of the kind of program in which they're participating. For instance, compare our BA program with Bronx Community College's film production training program, which provides specialized training for union jobs in film and television. That, as is clearly stated, is a professional training program designed to qualify you for a specific job. Such training is widely available and is often less expensive than a degree program, or free, as in the case of New York City's Made in New York training programs. So here's the Brooklyn College policy on academic integrity, and this is standard text that should be in all of your syllabi, and I encourage you to read that. But here's some class policies specific to this class that you should be aware of. So in this class, your work must be independent and demonstrate your individual understanding. While it is okay to ask a friend or classmate for assistance in understanding something, you may not copy and paste or exactly copy any of their work and submit it as your own, nor have them do any work for you. Similarly, you may not copy and paste or exactly copy work from any other source. By the time you're done transforming any borrowed material into your own derivative work, it must substantially differ from the source. Even so, the source of any material you received from a classmate or any other source must be cited. If the work is online, you have to provide a functional link to the work. If the work is from a source that is not online, you must provide a copy of the work in addition to your derivative work. Failure to do so will be considered a breach of academic integrity, which will be reported as required by the college. Any breach of academic integrity, the one described here or any other, will result in a course grade of D-, regardless of any other grading factors. And part B of this is that material provided by me as part of tutorials, quizzes, demonstrations, for instance, image or sound files that I provide, may not be used in your own creative work. It's each student's responsibility to find or create the media used in their projects, except as specifically stated. Here's the college's statement from the Center for Student Disability Services, also standard in all syllabi. You should read that, as well as the student bereavement policy. So every course within a department fits into a structure of department objectives and partially fulfills those objectives through its own course objectives and anticipated outcomes. These sections refer to how this course fits into the structure of the department. I encourage you to read it and let me know if you have any questions about it. Let's move on to the method of evaluation. So 25% of the grade will be for the synchronous assignments. These are projects that you complete or attempt to complete during our synchronous meeting times, and these will include quizzes and what would have been called in-class projects, and also homework that's assigned during the synchronous meeting so you can get started on it while I'm available to help you. Developing speed and confidence in your work is an important part of the synchronous assignments. You need to achieve a certain comfort level and fluency with the tools that allows you to work quickly and fluidly so that you can get past the technical hurdles and move on to the creative part of the project. Any missed synchronous assignments must be made up. There's a policy in the class of completion of all assignments. We'll get to that in a moment. Also, attendance is taken through the submission of synchronous assignments. So even if you've not completed the work or you feel you've done poorly on it, be sure to submit it in its incomplete form so that I give you credit for attendance, and then you can complete it and submit it later. Then 25% of the grade is for the 1-week projects and the homework. So this is work that will be assigned with a due date and submitted on Blackboard and completed on your own time. So the class participation grade consists of remaining in regular email contact with me throughout the semester about assignments, projects, course progress, creative dialogue, and any other topics, as well as regularly asking well-formed questions. Also, part of the class participation grade is discussion with fellow students on the class discussion board, and you're assigned 1 post per week and 2 replies per week on the class discussion board. Also, there may be other class participation assignments throughout the semester that will be part of this 25% of the grade. And then 25% of the grade are the major projects. These are major creative and technical endeavors using the concepts taught in the class. Some aspects of these projects will be at your discretion. Other aspects will be assigned. And then this is the completion of all assignments policy, which is an important feature of this class. Because each thing we do builds on something we've done previously, and because work you do is later going to be folded into future assignments, you can't skip anything. Quizzes, homework, 1-week projects, work in progress, submissions, questions, all assignments of any type must be completed. And failure to complete all assignments just takes 20% off of your grade. Late work will be penalized 10% if it's late, plus an additional 10% per week late. But no matter how late it is, all coursework must be submitted. There's also a couple of maximum lateness conditions. So if you have 3 or more assignments that are more than 1 week late, or any assignment more than 3 weeks late, you get an automatic D in the course. Now, of course, that should never actually happen, because if you're in a situation where you have an assignment that's more than 3 weeks late, or you have 3 assignments that are more than 1 week late, you should drop the course. I mean, clearly you should drop the course. If you don't, and you choose for some reason to stay in the course, your grade will be automatically set to a D, and regardless of what else you submit over the course of the semester, that D will not change. Now, if you submit work in an incomplete form, that's fine. You'll receive a grade of 0.1 on Blackboard. And if you submit the work by the deadline, incomplete work will automatically be given a 24-hour extension without penalty. So if you submit it by the deadline, but it's not done, and you finish it within 24 hours, that will still count as submitted on time. However, if you submit incomplete work and don't submit the completed version within 24 hours, then it will be considered late. There'll be a 10% penalty plus 10% per additional week late. So attendance of the synchronous meetings is required. Please plan to miss no synchronous meetings. Do not schedule any work, doctor's appointments, or appointments of any type during the synchronous meetings. They will not be excused. The first absence from a synchronous meeting will deduct 5% from the final course grade. Subsequent absences from synchronous meetings will each deduct an additional 10% from the course grade. 3 absences will result in an unrecoverable grade of D in the course, regardless of any and all other grading factors, with an exception in the case of a documented medical emergency. Due to the importance of attending the synchronous sessions, absences are not excused except in the case of a medical emergency or religious observance. Work and job interviews are not excused absences. To petition for a medical absence to be excused, submit official documentation of a medical emergency and a signed letter from a person who is not a family member explaining the situation with contact information. Absence due to religious observance is excused per New York State education law. Absence on the first day of class is automatically excused and is not included in the 3 absence limit. So we've already touched on academic integrity, plagiarism, and cheating. A breach of academic integrity, plagiarism, or cheating will result in a final grade of D- in the class, regardless of projects submitted, projects not submitted, or any other grading factors. Also included in the syllabus is a rubric, which clarifies the categories of things that meet expectations, do not meet expectations, or exceed expectations. So if you want to know what the grading is based on, I suggest that you carefully look through this rubric. And at the end of the syllabus is the course schedule, which just shows the days on which we have synchronous meetings and a rough description of what's going to be happening on that day. However, this is going to be modified based on the pace at which the class as a whole is progressing, and updates will be posted to Blackboard. And that's the syllabus.